You stand at the edge of a decision. Before you lies the path of least resistance, comfort, distraction, the escape hatch your mind offers every time the weight becomes unbearable. Behind you, generations of men who chose differently. They did not run from hardship. They did not numb themselves against difficulty. They walked directly into the fire and emerged transformed. This is Gaman, not a coping mechanism, not positive thinking, a forged discipline that turns suffering into steel. The word itself carries weight older than the mountains. Gaman, to endure with dignity, to bear the unbearable without complaint, to hold steady when every fiber of your being screams for release. In the Edo period, from 1603 to 1868, Japan entered an era of forced peace after centuries of warfare. The samurai class faced a crisis of identity. No battlefields remained, no enemies to cut down. Yet the warrior's spirit demanded expression. So they turned inward. They made an enemy of comfort itself. Yamamoto Tsunetomo, the samurai who dictated the Hagakure between 1710 and 1716, understood this transformation. He watched his brothers in arms grow soft in peacetime. He saw men who once faced death without flinching now collapse under the weight of daily existence. His response was not sympathy. It was a call to forge harder disciplines. "The way of the samurai is found in death," he wrote. Not physical death, the death of the self that demands ease, that bargains with discomfort, that believes survival requires comfort. Consider the practice of Kangeko, winter training. Samurai would rise at 3 in the morning during the coldest months. They trained in snow. They plunged into frozen rivers. They sat in meditation while ice formed on their skin. This was not hazing. This was not punishment. This was the deliberate construction of a mind that does not negotiate with hardship. When a samurai faced true danger, his body already knew the language of endurance. His nervous system had been rewired through voluntary suffering. The feudal lords understood this principle. They did not raise their sons in luxury. They sent them to live with lower-ranking samurai families where life was harsh, food was simple, discipline was absolute. Young Tokugawa Ieyasu, who would unite Japan and establish the Tokugawa shogunate, spent his childhood as a hostage. He slept on wooden pillows. He ate plain rice. He trained until his hands bled. These experiences did not break him. They built the foundation that would allow him to endure decades of political warfare and emerge as the most powerful man in Japan. This is the blade that bends. Not brittle steel that shatters under pressure, but folded metal that absorbs impact and returns to form. The samurai swordsmiths heated and hammered their blades thousands of times. Each fold removed impurities. Each strike compressed the molecular structure. The resulting katana could flex 30 degrees without breaking. Your mind requires the same forging process. Comfort is the impurity. Hardship is the hammer. Gaman is the technique. Modern men misunderstand this completely. They believe endurance means gritting your teeth and pushing through. They think it requires motivation, willpower, some reserve of energy they can deplete. This is why they fail. True Gaman operates on a different principle entirely. It is not resistance. It is acceptance married to action. You do not fight against the difficulty. You absorb it. You become larger than the hardship by no longer seeing it as something separate from yourself. The Zen masters who trained samurai in meditation taught a concept called mushotoku, practice without purpose. You sit in zazen not to achieve enlightenment, not to feel better, not to earn some reward. You sit because sitting is the practice. The discomfort in your knees, the screaming of your mind for distraction, the physical agony of maintaining posture, these are not obstacles to the practice. They are the practice. When you stop negotiating with discomfort, when you stop waiting for it to end, something shifts. The suffering remains. But you are no longer suffering. This is what the warrior path offers you. not an escape from hardship, but a complete reframing of your relationship to it. Every difficulty becomes training. Every discomfort becomes an opportunity to practice the art of not flinching. You build this capacity the same way samurai did, through deliberate, repeated exposure to voluntary hardship. Not recklessness, not self-destruction. Calculated doses of difficulty that expand your capacity to endure. The warrior does not avoid suffering. He seeks it out. This distinction separates men who merely survive from men who cannot be broken. In 1643, Miyamoto Musashi climbed Mount Iwato and sealed himself in Reigando Cave. For weeks, he sat in complete darkness. No food, no human contact, only stone walls and the howling of his own mind. He emerged having written the Gorin no Sho, the Book of Five Rings, a text that would guide warriors for centuries. But the book was not the point. The isolation was the forge. The suffering was the teacher. Musashi understood what modern science is only now confirming. Your nervous system adapts to whatever you expose it to repeatedly. Feed it comfort and it becomes fragile. Feed it controlled hardship and it becomes resilient. Neuroscientists call this stress inoculation. The samurai called it shugyo, austere training. Same principle, different era. When you voluntarily place yourself in difficult circumstances, your brain rewires its threat response system. What once triggered panic becomes merely data. What once seemed unbearable becomes your baseline. The mechanism is precise. Your amygdala, the ancient part of your brain that screams danger, learns to distinguish between true threats and discomfort. But it only learns through experience. You cannot think your way to this adaptation. You cannot read about cold water and gain the benefits of cold immersion. You must enter the water. You must stay while every cell begs for exit. You must teach your body that discomfort is not death. This is why the samurai practiced misogi, ritual purification under freezing waterfalls. They stood beneath thundering torrents of ice water, chanting sutras while their bodies convulsed. Modern men see this as spiritual practice. It was neurological training. Each session rewired their stress response. Each moment of staying when everything screamed to leave built the capacity to hold position under pressure. When battle came, when arrows fell like rain, their bodies already knew how to function through chaos. Takuan Soho, the Zen monk who advised the greatest swordsman of the early 1600s, taught a principle called fudoshin, the immovable mind. Not frozen, not rigid. Immovable in the sense that external circumstances cannot shake your internal state. A leaf floating on rushing water moves with the current, but the current does not disturb the leaf's nature. You achieve this not through philosophy, but through graduated exposure to difficulty. You train your mind to observe suffering without identifying with it. Consider the practice of seiza, formal kneeling. Westerners see it as a sitting position. It is a crucible. You kneel with your full weight on your folded legs. Within minutes, the discomfort begins. Within 10 minutes, it becomes agony. Within 20 minutes, most untrained men break. They shift, they adjust, they negotiate with the pain. The trained warrior sits for an hour, 2 hours. He is not tougher. He is not more disciplined in the way you understand discipline. He has simply practiced the art of non-reaction so thoroughly that pain becomes background noise. This is the secret modern men miss entirely. They think endurance requires more willpower. They try to muscle through difficulty. This approach guarantees failure because willpower is a depleting resource. True Gaman operates on a different fuel. It runs on acceptance. When you stop arguing with reality, when you stop wishing things were different, when you simply acknowledge what is and continue forward, you access a reservoir of strength that does not empty. The samurai formalized this through a daily practice called shikantaza, just sitting. You sit in meditation with no technique, no mantra, no goal. Thoughts arise, discomfort builds. Your mind offers 1,000 reasons to stop, and you sit. Not because you are strong, because you have practiced not responding to the mind's negotiations. This transfers to every domain. When your body says it cannot continue another repetition, you recognize this as the same negotiation. When your mind says this project is too difficult, you see the pattern. The voice that demands ease is always the same voice, and you have trained to not obey it. Musashi fought over 60 duels. He killed his first man at age 13. By 16, he had established his reputation as a swordsman who could not be rattled. His secret was not superior technique. Many swordsmen possessed equal skill. His advantage was that he had systematically desensitized himself to every form of discomfort. Heat, cold, hunger, sleep deprivation, social isolation, physical pain. By the time he faced an opponent, the stress of combat registered as mild compared to his training baseline. You can build this same capacity, not for sword fighting, for the battles you actually face, the difficult conversation you keep avoiding, the business you know you should start, the training session when your body feels broken, the early morning when the bed feels like salvation. These are your duels, and you are losing them not because you lack strength, but because you have not trained properly. You have not made friends with suffering. You still see it as the enemy. The warrior knows different. Suffering is the teacher who reveals what you are made of. Hardship is the crucible that burns away everything weak. Discomfort is the signal that you are expanding beyond your current capacity. When you reframe difficulty as development, when you seek out challenges rather than comfort, when you voluntarily choose the harder path, you activate the same mechanisms that forged samurai. Your nervous system has not changed in 400 years. The principles still work. The question is whether you have the clarity to apply them. 3 pillars support the temple of endurance. Remove one, and the structure collapses. Master all 3, and you become unbreakable. The samurai did not stumble into resilience. They built it systematically using principles refined across generations. These are not metaphors. They are load-bearing architectures that transform how you process difficulty. The first pillar is shikata ga nai. It cannot be helped. 3 words that contain more power than 1,000 motivational speeches. When the atomic bombs fell on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945, survivors faced annihilation. Cities vaporized, families erased, futures destroyed. Yet within weeks, Japanese citizens began rebuilding, not because they felt optimistic, not because they had processed their trauma, because shikata ga nai, the bombs had fallen. Grief changed nothing. Anger rebuilt nothing, so they picked up tools and worked. Western psychology calls this radical acceptance. The samurai called it the foundation of sanity. You cannot negotiate with reality. The meeting is in 2 hours and you are unprepared. Shikata ga nai. The injury will take 6 months to heal. Shikata ga nai. The business failed. The relationship ended. The opportunity passed. No amount of anguish changes what is. The only question that matters, what action becomes possible when you stop arguing with circumstances. This is not resignation. This is the opposite. Resignation is passive collapse. Shikata ga nai is active acceptance that frees energy for response. When you stop spending mental resources wishing things were different, you discover massive reserves for dealing with things as they are. The samurai facing an army of 10,000 did not waste time lamenting that he faced 10,000. He assessed the terrain. He chose his position. He drew his sword. This is shikata ga nai in motion. Total acceptance married to total commitment. The second pillar is mono no aware, the pathos of things, the bitter-sweet recognition that all things pass. Cherry blossoms are beautiful precisely because they last only days. The samurai treasured Sakura season not despite its brevity but because of it. They sat beneath falling petals and meditated on impermanence. Every bloom contains its own death. Every breath brings you closer to your last. This is not morbid. This is the engine of presence. In 1702, the 47 Ronin avenged their master's death. They spent nearly 2 years planning. They endured humiliation. They separated from families. They sacrificed everything for a single night of action. Then they committed seppuku, ritual suicide, because the mission was complete. Their story became legend not because they succeeded, but because they understood Mono no Aware so deeply. The mission had a season. That season would end. They acted with full commitment, knowing nothing would last. This freed them from hesitation. You waste immense energy trying to make things permanent. The relationship, the achievement, the feeling of victory. This grasping creates suffering. When you internalize Mono no Aware, you hold everything lightly. You give complete effort, knowing the outcome will dissolve. This paradoxically allows you to engage more fully. The musician who knows the concert will end plays with greater intensity. The warrior who knows death is certain fights with absolute clarity. Impermanence is not the problem. Denying impermanence is the problem. Practical application: when difficulty arrives, remember it is already leaving. The hardest part of your workout is 60 seconds long. That 60 seconds will end whether you quit or continue. The grief is bottomless today. In 6 months, it will be different. Not gone. Different. Your current suffering has a half-life. This is not cold comfort. This is tactical information. You can endure anything if you truly grasp that it will not last forever. The samurai going into battle meditated on their death poems. They wrote their final words before the fight. This was not pessimism. This was clarity. When you remember everything ends, you stop negotiating with temporary difficulty. The third pillar is giri, duty, obligation, the iron rails that carry you forward when motivation fails. In the feudal system, a samurai's identity merged completely with his role. He was not a man who happened to serve a lord. His service was his existence. This eliminated the exhausting modern question, do I feel like doing this today? The samurai did not consult his feelings. He consulted his duty. His lord required him at dawn. He appeared at dawn. His feelings on the matter were irrelevant. Modern men recoil from this. They have been taught that authenticity means following feelings, that discipline without enthusiasm is somehow fake. This is precisely backward. Your feelings are weather. They change hourly. Duty is the compass. Giri means you train whether inspired or not. You show up whether comfortable or not. You complete the mission whether rewarded or not. This is not robotic obedience. This is freedom from the tyranny of mood. The samurai formalized giri through codes like Bushido, the way of the warrior. These were not suggestions. They were the architecture of identity. A samurai who violated giri lost everything. Not legally. Internally, he could no longer call himself samurai. This created a weight that pulled men forward even when everything else failed. Your modern equivalent is the identity you forge, not the one given to you, the one you build through consistent action. When you define yourself by what you do, regardless of how you feel, you access the same mechanism. These 3 pillars work in concert. Shikata ga nai accepts what is. Mono no Aware releases attachment to outcomes. Giri provides the structure that ensures action regardless of circumstances. Together, they form an unshakable foundation. You face difficulty. Shikata ga nai, it exists. Arguing changes nothing. Mono no Aware, this too shall pass. Giri, my duty remains clear. This sequence transforms suffering from an enemy into information. The pain is real. Your response is chosen. This is the architecture of endurance. Look around. Men are softer than they have ever been. Not physically, though that too. Soft in the place that matters. The capacity to continue when continuation is difficult. Climate control in every building. Food delivered to the door. Entertainment on demand. Every minor discomfort has a solution you can purchase. And with each convenience, each optimization, each comfort upgrade, your tolerance for difficulty shrinks. You are becoming allergic to your own life. This is not accidental. Comfort is a weaponized force in the modern world. Every algorithm, every product, every service is designed to eliminate friction. They sell you ease. What they do not tell you is that ease is erosion. Your ancestors walked miles in freezing rain because the work demanded it. They went hungry because the harvest failed. They endured physical agony because medicine did not exist. Their baseline for unbearable was your crisis. And they continued, not because they were made of different material, because their nervous systems were calibrated differently. You have been lied to about what you need. You do not need comfort to function. You need the opposite. Challenge creates capacity. Difficulty develops strength. Hardship reveals what you actually are beneath the story you tell yourself. The samurai knew this in their bones. They did not train in comfortable dojos with padded floors. They trained on stone, in snow, under the sun until men collapsed. The training was designed to be barely survivable because anything less produced men who crumbled in actual combat. Takeda Shingen, one of the most formidable daimyo of the 16th century, had a saying, "Excessive strictness is better than excessive leniency." His armies were legendary not for their numbers, but for their conditioning. He marched them through mountain passes in winter. He rationed food below comfort. He created conditions that would break modern men in hours. And when battle came, his soldiers had already survived worse. The enemy's arrows were mercy compared to their training. You can apply this immediately. Stop negotiating with discomfort. The cold shower you avoid every morning, take it. Not because it feels good, because it trains non-negotiation. Your body will scream. Your mind will offer rational reasons to choose warm water. And you will stand in the cold anyway. This is Gaman practice. 5 minutes under cold water teaches you more about your capacity than 5 hours of comfortable meditation. The lesson is simple. Discomfort is not dangerous. Your avoidance of discomfort is what makes you weak. Second protocol, embrace physical depletion. The samurai practiced a form of training called seninbari, training until collapse, not injury, collapse. They would practice strikes until their arms would no longer rise. They would hold horse stance until their legs gave out. This was not cruelty. This was calibration. They learned exactly where their actual limits existed versus where their mind insisted limits existed. The gap between these 2 points is enormous. You quit at 30%. Your body can continue to 80%. But you will never know this until you practice going beyond the point where your mind demands you stop. Modern application. Pick one physical discipline. It does not matter which. Running, weightlifting, martial arts, swimming. Choose one and commit to training past the point of wanting to quit. Not once. Every single session. Your mind will offer the bargain, "You have done enough for today." This is the exact moment where Gaman practice begins. Acknowledge the thought. Thank it for its concern. Continue. Add one more set, one more round, one more minute. The repetitions beyond comfort are where transformation lives. Third protocol, practice voluntary poverty. The samurai lived by a code called Bushi no Nasake, samurai compassion, which included periodic fasting and simplicity. Even wealthy samurai would spend weeks living as peasants, eating plain rice, sleeping on hard floors, owning nothing unnecessary. This was not spiritual bypassing. This was insurance. When war came and supply lines collapsed, they had already practiced hunger. When they had to sleep in armor on frozen ground, their bodies recognized the conditions. You are addicted to convenience. Test this. Fast for 24 hours. Not a diet, a fast, only water. Watch what happens. Your body will not die. You will not collapse, but your mind will stage a revolution. It will tell you stories about blood sugar and metabolism and why this is dangerous. It is lying. You can easily survive 24 hours without food. Billions of your ancestors did it regularly. Your inability to tolerate even mild hunger reveals how domesticated you have become. Expand this practice. 1 week per month, eliminate your primary comfort. Phone after 6 p.m. Hot water, coffee, processed food. Whatever you lean on hardest, remove it temporarily, not forever, for defined periods. This teaches your nervous system that you can function without crutches. When the samurai went to war, they could not bring their preferences with them, so they practiced living without preferences. This made them dangerous. Nothing you could take from them could stop them because they had already practiced having nothing. Fourth protocol, seek discomfort socially. The hardest conversation you are avoiding, have it this week. The truth you need to speak that will create awkwardness, speak it. The boundary you need to set that will disappoint someone, set it. Social discomfort is where modern men fail most completely. You will tolerate almost anything to avoid awkward silence, confrontation, or another person's disappointment. This makes you controllable. This makes you weak. The samurai practiced a brutal form of honesty called haradama, speaking from the belly. You said what was true regardless of how it landed. If your lord made a strategic error, you told him. If your fellow samurai dishonored the code, you confronted him. The consequences could be severe. You might lose your position. You might have to commit seppuku. But living as a coward was worse than death. This is the calculation that built unbreakable men. Truth mattered more than comfort. Honor mattered more than safety. Duty mattered more than feelings. Your modern battlefield is the cubicle, the dinner table, the difficult email, the conversation where you know your truth will create friction. This is where you practice Gaman now. Not with swords, with words, not against armies, against your own desire to be liked. The warrior speaks truth and accepts consequences. The coward calculates what others want to hear and becomes a puppet. Which are you? Your level of discomfort in social situations reveals the answer. The foundation has been laid. Now we build the structure that weathers every storm. Advanced Gaman practice is not for beginners. It is for men who have already tested themselves against discomfort and discovered they can endure more than they believed. What follows are the techniques that forge permanent resilience, methods used by the most elite warriors to transcend ordinary human limitations. First technique, Zen sesshin meditation. 7 days of continuous sitting practice. Not 7 days with meditation breaks. 7 days where meditation is the entire existence. You wake at 3:30 in the morning. You sit in zazen until your legs go numb. You eat in silence. You return to sitting. 18 hours per day of motionless meditation. No music, no books, no conversation. Only you and the absolute riot of your uncontrolled mind. By day 3, most participants experience complete psychological breakdown. They see visions. They weep uncontrollably. They believe they are going insane. By day 7, something else emerges. A mind that has exhausted its ability to distract itself. A silence beneath the noise. This is not peace. This is the discovery that you can survive your own mind at full volume. Hakuine, the Zen master who revitalized the Rinzai school in the 1700s, designed sesshin specifically to destroy the illusion of the self. He knew that men believe they are their thoughts. As long as this belief persists, the mind controls you. 7 days of watching thoughts arise and dissolve, arise and dissolve, arise and dissolve, 10,000 times breaks the identification. You realize you are not the voice in your head. You are the space in which the voice appears. This realization is not intellectual. It is visceral, and it rewires everything. Modern application. You do not need a monastery. You need 7 consecutive days where you can structure time. Take a week off. No television, no phone except emergencies, no books, no podcasts. Wake at 4 a.m. Sit in a chair facing a blank wall for 1 hour. Maintain upright posture. Do not move. Your mind will negotiate. Just 30 minutes today. This is pointless. You have important things to do. These thoughts are the enemy. When they arise, return to posture. Return to breath. The content of thoughts is irrelevant. The practice is remaining seated despite the thoughts. Do this every morning for 7 days. By the end, you will have met yourself completely. Most men cannot do this. They tap out by day 2. This reveals exactly how much control their mind has over them. Second technique, misogi purification under waterfalls. Traditional misogi requires standing beneath a waterfall and chanting the syllable tohokami emitame 100 times. The water pounds your skull. Your body goes into shock. Your breathing becomes involuntary gasps, and you continue chanting. This practice dates to the ancient Shinto tradition, but was adopted by samurai as psychological conditioning. The mechanism is elegant. Extreme cold triggers your mammalian dive reflex. Your heart rate drops. Blood flow redirects to vital organs. Your body believes it is dying, and you train yourself to function anyway. Morihei Ueshiba, founder of Aikido, practiced misogi daily, well into his 80s. He would stand under ice water before dawn every morning. Students asked him why. His answer, "To remember I am not my body." This is the core insight. Your body will produce every signal of emergency. Adrenaline floods, muscles seize, breath becomes ragged. These are biological responses. They are not commands. The untrained man obeys his biology. The warrior observes his biology and acts according to purpose. Misogi teaches this distinction with brutal efficiency. You do not need a waterfall. You need cold water and commitment. Fill a tub with ice water, 40 degrees or colder. Submerge completely for 5 minutes. Time it. Do not negotiate. The first 60 seconds are agony. Your mind will scream. Override it. By 3 minutes, something shifts. The panic subsides, not because the cold diminishes, but because you stop fighting it. This is the lesson. Resistance amplifies suffering. Acceptance neutralizes it. Practice this twice per week. Each session rewires your stress response. After 3 months, situations that would have triggered panic now trigger calm assessment. Your threshold has moved. Third technique, extended fasting with physical training. The samurai practiced a form called danjiki, water-only fasting while maintaining full combat training. Not resting while fasting, training harder. This seems counterintuitive. It is precisely the point. Your body has reserves you never access because you refuel before depletion. True hunger, 72 hours without food while remaining active, teaches you what your body can actually do. Most men eat because the clock says mealtime, not because they face genuine hunger. This makes them dependent on consistent fueling. The warrior functions regardless of supply. In 1600, during the siege of Fushimi Castle, samurai defenders went 9 days with almost no food while fighting constantly. They did not collapse. They fought to the last man. Their bodies shifted into ketosis. They burned fat for fuel. They accessed energy systems modern men never touch because they never push past surface-level hunger. This capacity still exists in you. You have simply never activated it. Protocol, once per month, fast for 72 hours, water only. Maintain your training schedule. Lift weights, run, train martial arts. Do not reduce intensity. Your body will protest violently at first. Push through. By hour 48, mental clarity increases dramatically. Your body stops asking for food. It finds fuel internally. This is not starvation. This is remembering that you are an organism designed to function during scarcity. The abundance you live in has made you fragile. Fasting under load rebuilds the resilience your genetics expect. Fourth technique, the death meditation from Hagakure. Every morning, Yamamoto Tsunetomo instructed samurai to visualize their death in detail, not abstractly, specifically. See the blade entering your chest, feel your body collapsing, experience your final breath. Hold this image for 10 minutes. Most modern men cannot do this for 10 seconds. The mind rebels against contemplating its own extinction. But this rebellion is exactly what the practice targets. When you face death mentally every day, smaller fears lose their grip. The difficult conversation is nothing compared to death. The financial loss is nothing compared to death. The social embarrassment is nothing compared to death. This practice operated as perspective calibration. The samurai who meditated on death daily did not fear it less. He simply recognized that everything else was smaller. This created immense freedom. A man with nothing to lose acts with total clarity. The death meditation artificially creates this state. You practice losing everything mentally. Then, living your actual life feels like borrowed time. Every moment becomes gift rather than entitlement. This shifts your entire approach to difficulty. Practice. Before sleep, lie flat. Close your eyes. Visualize the manner of your death. Car accident, disease, violence. Does not matter. Make it vivid. Feel your consciousness fading. Experience the finality. Do this for 10 minutes. The first attempts will be uncomfortable. Continue. After 30 days, something fundamental changes. Petty concerns dissolve. What matters becomes obvious. The courage to act appears because you have already practiced the worst outcome. This is advanced Gaman, making death your advisor so life becomes clear. These techniques are not theoretical. They are tested across centuries by men whose lives depended on mental strength. You face different battles, but the principles remain identical. Build capacity through voluntary hardship. Rewire your nervous system through controlled stress. Practice until discomfort becomes your natural habitat. This is how you become unbreakable. Not by avoiding difficulty, but by making difficulty your training ground. The path is clear. The question is whether you will walk it.